another 20 pounds I don't need to have hanging around my legs.
I know in the movie Band of Brothers,
Yes.
one paratrooper was putting a bunch of stuff on and the guy said, get rid of this, get rid of this.
That's because you saw the veteran guys between the Band of Brothers. We're talking about the guys that showed a blast. I'm not going to disparage them when they're heroes in that. But the 101st were the last guys to show up to the party. The 82nd had already done this 2 and 3 times. You know, there's guys with 4 combat jumps in World War II. Now we're talking about all the way through. So when there were lessons learned between the guys that were from the 82nd and maybe come over to the 101st. The 504 Parachute Infantry Regiment was completely decimated to the point where it was no longer combat usable anymore. Those guys volunteered to become Pathfinders and they went to other divisions. It's those lessons learned. Well, you don't need this, you don't need that. That's just practical application. When we're talking about 3 days worth of gear, those guys average weight is about 100 pounds. That's close to 100. I would argue that because the Rosette bag can only carry so much. But if you take into consideration what they're strapped onto their bodies, if you notice the cargo pockets on their uniforms, they have very large pockets. That uniform progressed and it developed over time where they reinforced it and made it stronger and heavier so it could carry large amounts of gear. You were stuffing food in here and there, and by the time I came along in my time, we had packs that were, I could put your kid inside that pack. And it would hang right here, right in front of my legs, and I would lower it, you know, and then that itself weighed over 100 pounds, 120 pounds.
So that had hit the ground just before you did?
That would hit the ground before I would. And we even used to jump dogs. Where we would go out, the dog would have a harness on, we would jump out like this, and we would lower them down on that lowering line, and depending on how many times the dog had jumped, it would kind of be waiting for you when you hit the ground because we'd let you know that, hey, I don't like what you just did to me. They get a little excited and dog handlers would often bleed. What happened? Oh, you worked out a little mad. You know? They swung a little too far in the wrong direction. Major jumps we had one in Sicily, North Africa. They had, afterwards they had a couple of jumps and that was really not as big as those 2. Those were the big ones. Because we're talking about a major invasion. But the point is to be able to offload. Now think about this. How many of you have been on an airliner? How many of you have been stuck on the ground in traffic or waiting in the air to land in traffic? Okay? It's kind of time consuming, right? It takes some time. A battalion has about 1,000 people in it. Now you add equipment and vehicles and all that other stuff. If you had to air land that in, the typical way, you only have one runway, it's going to take a while to get that battalion down on the ground. If you drop them by air, by the time you hit the ground, I don't know what this is in my pocket because they didn't have those in World War II. By the time you hit the ground, within seconds, you're prepared to fight. Literally seconds. You hit the ground, you're laying on your back, you get yourself going, the very first thing you do is get your weapon in order, you figure out which direction you're going in, you get your gear, and you move out. And you all head towards the assembly area. And at this point, within a matter of minutes, you're ready to fight as an entire unit, as opposed to sitting in the air waiting to offload, just offloading an airplane. Look how long it takes you to get off an airplane. And that is comparable to what troops have to do. Well, they have to wait in line to get off the airplane. Then they have to grab their stuff and get off the airplane. As opposed to dropping it. So that's where the theory of vertical envelopment, that's the sales pitch for it. And look, we get a force capable of fighting in minutes on the ground as opposed to hours or days. That's the theory. That's right.
That web belt that I've got, that's a Rangers. That actually held up better than my reconstruction. So if you can buy original web gear, go with it. They were actually made better. Same thing for the can. Here's the other part of the canteen. Forgot to put on my whistle and my